Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another podcast episode. My name is Alicia Gogan, the host of the Glow Up Secrets podcast, where I help you expand your mind and become more self aware so that you can glow up into the best version of yourself. We are back, and I'm feeling a little bit under the weather. I'm not going to lie. And I'm going to quickly explain what under the weather means because this comment will never leave my memory. Someone honestly asked me, I don't know what that means every time you say that. And you post it on your stories, blah, blah, blah. I was like, oh, I didn't know people didn't know what that meant. It's just that I don't feel well, honestly. I feel like, when your body is about to get a cold and you just feel that, like the energy dips, you just know. I feel like that, but it's not going to happen though. I'm not going to actually get sick. I never actually, okay, that's a lie. I do get sick sometimes, but it's quite rare. But usually when I feel it coming on, I'm like, okay, let's tone it back. Although I'm here on the podcast right now, but it's fine. I feel good enough to do the podcast. But, this is just a reminder to listen to your body, okay? So with that said, I am wearing a hoodie today, just relaxing, chilling. It's giving a snowstorm outside. We're back to snow in Canada right now. But again, I'm not going to complain. I'm not going to complain because literally what day is it? The 25th when I'm filming this. Or recording if you're listening audio, and we're literally going into March. That's it for me. Once I see February like off the calendar, I'm Gucci. And the fact that yesterday I took a photo of the sunset because I have a beautiful view. I have a view from east, south, and west, so I get the best of basically all worlds except for north, which is fine. And it was 6 p.m. and it was very bright out. Now by 6:30, it was like not super, super dark, but it was like at that point the sun set. But 6 o'clock, we're getting there. And for people who don't live in the north or don't live somewhere where you get like 3 hours of sunlight, I'm obsessed with you, I was going to say. I am obsessed with you, but I'm also jealous of you. Anyways, we have a very chit-chatty episode today. I have a lot of updates, a lot of ins, okay? I'm back to the ins. I don't really have any outs unless it pops up in my head, but I have a lot of ins that we need to talk about. And I asked you guys once again on my Instagram, which go follow me on there, Alicia Gogan, because I ask you guys all the Q&A stuff for the podcast. And I asked you guys what you guys were wanting me to really discuss on the podcast, and a lot of things came up, of course, and I think we have a good mix, a good mashup of a few things that are needed to be spoken. That's not the word. Whatever, talked about. Still probably not the best word. Don't know. I'm trying to learn how to speak properly, okay? Just give me some time. So we'll be talking about a lot of things. Family, friends, the deed. We'll be talking a little bit of a health and wellness, body image vibes, and some personal questions that you guys had asked me about my journey. And I think a few more, but I forget. Whatever. I have the Notion. We're pulling up the Notion right now. By the way, I'm a Notion girly, so get on that. Honestly, get on that. When I film so I have a few videos coming out soon. I am filming the how to, what is it? I don't know exactly what the title is going to be, but I think it's going to be something like how to build your dream life while working a 9 to 5. It's coming. You guys, literally all of you guys have been commenting on everything. You guys want that video. It is coming, girl. It is coming. But I also thought about a 2-part video that I'm going to do in the next few weeks on productivity. And why was I saying that? Oh yeah, because I feel like I'll probably talk about Notion in there. That was so irrelevant and I did not need to say that. Anyways, let's get into it. Okay, so my first in right now is working on the weekends. Now this is not going to last. I know this is not going to last once I move to the city. And honestly, not even when I move to the city. When it's summer, there's just no way. But there's something the past 2 weeks, and listen, I have been so productive in the past week, and that was because I was ovulating. I pumped out like 3 videos that I recorded and then 4 that I edited, uploaded, thumbnails, keywords, titles, everything. Like when I record sometimes, I'll just like have some of the clips and then I'll leave it for the day that I want to record, and then maybe I'll get that video up and sent in through YouTube because they like to flag all my videos now, so I have to like put it under review. But then sometimes I don't do the thumbnail and have everything ready that same time because it's just too much. It's a lot of work to do like the whole entire workflow until it's actually ready to upload. So, but I did them all. So literally, like if I wanted to post them all 4 at that moment, I could. So I got them all done. And this week it was just like a breeze. That's why you know what? I think that is why my body's like feeling a little bit unwell, honestly. One being the snow's come back and it's a little bit more cold. It's a little colder, but I do think that because I was working and then I slowed down, my body's like, what? Girl, what? Which is interesting. So anyways, I was really productive. Where was I going with that? Right. So I was really productive and I'm working on the weekend right now. And I love just not doing much during the week. Now listen, first of all, I know that my lifestyle is a lot different than somebody who works 9 to 5. But I've been there, and we'll talk about that actually in this episode. But also, I did still work this week. I just did a lot of writing and a lot of things that I've been putting off because my main thing right now is my podcast and my YouTube. But it still felt like such a break. And there's something very peaceful about moving through the week and not being super insanely on and then working through the weekend when I don't know, the past few weekends I have been very productive and I've been using my Saturdays as Sundays and getting everything done. And then during the week, it's more like chill. I don't know. But it also, again, bringing it back to my cycle does play a role into that. So anyways, right now in this particular moment on this weekend, working on the weekends is in. Okay. Next. Sending voice notes to your friends is in. I didn't realize how many people do this until I started seeing videos on Instagram, TikTok, where girls are just making those like funny meme videos, whatever. I don't even know what they say on them, but mainly sending 15-minute long TED Talks. The way you guys know, the way that I can speak for hours, it's honestly kind of a toxic trait if you think about it. I was thinking about this the other day. It's kind of annoying. And listen, my friends love listening to me talk. Sometimes they don't. Like Joey, sometimes she literally was like, shut up. And honestly, shut up to myself. Like, be quiet sometimes, you know? You do not need to explain everything and talk for a million hours. But that is my gift and I love it and whatever. And then I just make a podcast show about it. But I was thinking like, you need to become a little bit more self-aware, Alicia. Like sometimes people don't want to hear you talk all the time. But you know what? Mind you, I am good at communicating. Like when I'm speaking to people, I do listen to them and I do let them talk. I'm not like, oh my God, trying to get every word in and just like always trying to talk. So anyways, whatever. I think that it's like actually not a toxic trait, but sending voice notes is in. It is so much more convenient. Like I'm so sick and tired of sending texts. I don't have the time. And honestly, because I get so many DMs from you guys, and I'm doing so many replies that when it comes to my day-to-day, my friends and talking to them, I just need to send them voice notes because I just can't. I'm exhausted in a good way though, in a good way. All right. Love Island is in. And listen, I know I said that like 3 weeks ago that I was out, but it's in because you know what? I was looking for a show to watch and it's not bad. Love Island season 9, I believe it is, UK version. And I've been liking it. I think maybe because I'm bored and I don't have any other shows to watch. I'm not usually a show watcher because I just don't usually find the time to watch them. But lately I've been trying to slow down a little bit more. So I don't mind it. I kind of want to do a review, but it won't happen. Not on this channel right now, but that would be kind of cool to like have like a second episode of the week and we just like unpack Love Island or unpack a show. That'd be cool. But I'm not that consistent. I've also been watching Vanderpump Rules, the new season, which has been like 2 years since that. I love that show. Guilty pleasure. What else? I finished The Real Housewives of Salt Lake City. I really like that. I think I just like the Salt Lake vibes, to be honest. And I saw a trailer for The Real Housewives of New Jersey, and I kind of want to watch it. I don't know. Let me know what you guys think. Do you guys watch any of those shows? I know that they're not brain stimulating, but the way that my brain is stimulated damn near 24 hours of the day, sometimes I need it. All right. Next is getting your finances together. Now, my finances are together. when I talk about personal financing, like budgeting and spending your money correctly and scarcity mindset and getting out of debt and good credit and paying your bills on time, like all that, totally been there, done that, whatever. And I actually have a video. I feel like some of you guys probably have watched it, but if you haven't, it's how to enter your rich girl era. And I give a lot of tips on like how to enter that rich girl, whatever. Anyways, go watch it if you want. But I'm talking about finances. I'm honestly talking about investing. I have not learned that much about investing in my years of growing up because no one around me just taught me about that. And I had to get myself out of debt and, learn how to pay my bills and navigate life like most people. So my friend Joey, she's really good at investing in stocks and stuff. And she's taught me a lot about, I've always heard about TFSAs and putting your money into stocks and this, that. And I have over the years, but now I'm really getting into it. And it just like makes me feel so good getting my life together, like my investments together. Like that's the next step for me and I actually talked about this in the video. Sometimes when you're trying to get your financial life together, ideally, there's two things that you want to do at the same time, but it's very hard to sometimes. One is to learn how to spend correctly and spend less, and just like be good with your spending habits. And then it has to do with a lot of mindset and beliefs and your upbringing and things like that. But also simultaneously, you'd want to be making more money, right? So you have more money to save, more money to invest and whatever. But sometimes you can only do one and the other. And now that I'm in my era of, I really worked through getting much better with my money and paying off debts from the past and whatever, just getting my life sorted. Now I'm making way more money. Every year I make more money than I have the year before that. I think, yeah, every year. But this year is exponentially much more money, which is great. That's, a goal of mine. And now I feel like I can really start to take investing not seriously, but like really, really get into it because I do have money. So just a quick tip, if you're hearing me talk about investing and you're like, oh my gosh, this is stressful and like I can't do it, don't worry. Like sometimes you might have to do that first. Let me just get my life sorted first and then I'll come back to being able to really put my money where it really matters. So that's definitely in. Another thing that is in is sped up songs. Okay. I don't know if you guys are on TikTok. I don't usually scroll, but sometimes I'll let myself scroll if I'm bored. And honestly, I just love watching funny videos. The way that I used to go on TikTok and watch self-development stuff or anything to do with educational, like the way I usually always do on social media. I feel like if I'm not watching something that's teaching me something, then I don't want to watch it. Like I'm never that person because it's like low-key, like a chronic illness in a way, but whatever, we've worked on it. But now when I scroll on TikTok, if I do, it's honestly just funny videos or just like cool sounds, like not even sounds for videos, but sounds, music, whatever. And the way that sped up songs are so in, like, and I even said this on my story, it's honestly a Gen Z effect. It's called the Gen Z effect. The Gen Z, they love everything quick. Like honestly, a lot of my audience do fall in the category of Gen Z. So honestly, I love your attention span for sitting here and listening to this podcast episode because some Gen Zs could never. Like they need a 30-second video and you need to chop up everything and like literally if you pause for 1 second, like you're done. But I feel like with these sped up songs, it's giving Gen Z. It's giving no wonder everything's sped up now because their attention spans are so small. And listen, this is just a joke, but not really, but like it is. I love it though. I feel like, first of all, I'm on the cusp of being a Gen Z to millennial. I'm 95. Well, I am a millennial, technically. I'm pretty sure. But either way, I'm very old. But I still feel like I have a little bit of zest of that Gen Z vibe. But I really love sped up songs, though. There's something about a sped up song. Like, get to the point. But it's also like when you dance to that song or you vibe out to the song, I don't know. I love it being sped up sometimes. All right, next thing. I don't know how this even happened. I got a notification on my phone and it just from Apple being like, your subscription for Apple Music is canceled. Thanks for showing up or like, thanks for giving us all your money. And I was like, okay. I didn't even look into it though, but I was like, you know what? This is going to be a sign from the universe to move to Spotify because I have been an Apple Music lover for forever, but I also love Spotify, and I want Spotify playlists. Like I want to make playlists. I've said this in one of my episodes before, and you guys always ask me what my playlist is. Blah, blah, blah. Sometimes I post on my story for YouTube, like my YouTube playlist sometimes that I listen to, but I want to like really curate mine. So anyways, that happened. So now I am a Spotify user, and I will be intentionally creating playlists, and hopefully I'll have some really good ones for like summer by then. I mean, I'm already starting them now, but it takes me a while. Oh my gosh, guys, I literally had to just get up and move my flowers because I was smelling something weird, and I was like, what is this? And it was my flowers. So if you're watching on YouTube and you're like, where did those go? They went over there. Gross. Last thing, I have been wanting to book a photo shoot for a long time to redo my podcast art and just have more professional photos of me, especially now that I'm writing a book. I would like to have like that author cover, not cover, but a photo headshot, and just like some cool, I don't know, just cool vibes. I want photos. So anyways, I have booked a consultation quick meeting with a photographer that I think that is my vibe. So it's in the works, and hopefully I'm hoping by maybe springtime I will have rebranded in a way the podcast and have more photos of me. So I'm excited, and I've been on Pinterest, like, you know, doing the thing, making the boards. So I'm really excited for that. I'm actually very excited. I feel like this past year I used to always think that I was not photogenic, like honestly, and I'm still learning my angles. I'm still learning what looks good. I'm still learning to not feel awkward the way that I used to. First of all, I used to always just think that I was not good looking, and especially not enough to take photos, which is, I know it's a lot, but whatever. And I only would really be comfortable taking my own photos like in a mirror, like selfies. And I'm like, that's just ridiculous. So I don't know, because COVID was hard, right? Because I feel like no one was really living their life anyways and like going out and getting photos taken and doing all these things. But then after, when, you know, things started opening up again and whatever, I ended up then working so much and then just didn't have time to take photos and stuff the way that I would love to. And so I just feel like my whole life circumstance, I just didn't have that much time to learn my angles and feel more confident and whatever. Anyways, now I'm really focusing on that, and you know, I'm loving how some photos are being taken of me, and definitely depends on who's taking them. But I feel like now that I have more confidence within myself and like know some of my angles, I'm still trying to learn though. I'm actually excited to go to have a photo shoot. Like back then, thinking about if anyone asked me to do a photo shoot or if I had to, I'd be like, no, I don't know my angles. I feel like no matter what photo you take of me, it's not going to look good. But now it's completely opposite. So anyways, I'm really excited for that. Maybe that'll just be like my new thing, just photo shoots. But hold on, we'll just see. We'll see the first one first. Okay, let's get into some of the topics today. Someone asked me to talk about the deed. I'm saying the deed because, again, let's not get on YouTube's bad side today. They asked, you talk about not sleeping around, but at what point for you, there I go again with not reading things out. You know what? I'm just going to make that my personality trait at this point. But at what point for you do you feel safe to have the deed, do the deed, okay? When do you think it's the right choice and not something that you will regret? This is a very fair question / point / that's not a point, whatever. And for those of you who don't know, I did have a video on hookup culture that it's at like 600,000 views. So yeah, it's quite big. And I talked about the downfalls of indulging in hookup culture and just, you know, hooking up with people who you're not seeing a future with, you're not committed to, you're not, you know, they're really not taking you into consideration that way that you probably deep down really want. And I think that it can definitely hurt us more than help us in a lot of ways. I said in the video, and I'll always say it, there's always exceptions to the rule. There's going to be some girls, and I'm speaking girls, women, because that's who I am, and I'm speaking from that perspective, but can definitely go the opposite as well. I do think a lot of us, we lie to ourselves and we do things and we say that we're okay with it and then we're not. And I've seen it within myself, and I've also seen it within my friends who will say that, okay, yeah, like, it's fine. He just wants to hook up, or he just wants to, friends with benefits. But then the next day, the way that they're acting, they're not okay with the friends with benefits. So I don't know. I think it takes a lot of truth, a lot of maturity, a lot of knowing yourself to know whether, even indulging in hookup culture is right for you. But that's not really what we're talking about right now. So what I thought about this, and I honestly think for me, it's such an intuitive thing. And it takes a long time, not a long time, but it takes a while for you to really know when you are ready. Like, it takes you doing it when you weren't probably ready. Not saying that you need to do that. Please don't take it like that. But, not until I really became more self-aware and was honest with myself and told myself, I don't like hooking out with people when I'm not ready, or, hooking out with somebody who I actually still don't know where we're going. That doesn't feel good to me. Really knowing how you feel, that takes a while to really build that intuition to know when the right time is. I'm also somebody who is not using the word I'm celibate or obviously not waiting for marriage or anything like that. I'm not really in that side of the internet as well. I know when I know, but that does take a while. But I think what has helped me build that trust muscle is, first and foremost, knowing if that person that I want to sleep with is taking me serious and is wanting the same things that I am, and also not pushing to do the deed. Now, listen, men, we're talking about men here, they do like the deed, okay? But that doesn't mean that you need to give things up too quickly when you're not ready or any of that. And I think that you'll know when you're with a guy who moves too quickly, because you'll feel, it's like, I just remember some of the times when I was with a guy who I was seeing and I really liked, and we talked a lot, and I honestly don't think that they were really like sleeping around or doing anything like crazy, but they still weren't committed to me. But there'd be times where we'd be like kissing, whatever, and things went way too quick. Like, he obviously initiated going further, and I instantly felt a little bit like, whoa, this is too soon, or kind of shocked that we're going here right now. It's almost like we never had that instinctual commitment of being like, we're going to do this, and it's going to be like, we both know that we want to do this. It was more so, I felt that he was ready and he wanted to do that, but he didn't even know that whether I wanted to do it or not. I feel like it's hard sometimes to tap into that part of you, but I actually always knew, but I just ignored it and I just went for it. But looking back, I'm like, I knew every single time when it was too quick, or I wasn't really ready, or I thought, oh, like, that's weird that he doesn't think that, like, he didn't really realize that I wasn't maybe fully ready. I also wrote on my notes, it's like you both made a silent agreement that it was time. And I think, as being 27 years old and dating now and being in more mature relationships as I've grown up, this is how I date. I mean, I only date men who are wanting to commit and who are looking for a future and like want marriage and all that are having the conversations with me, who are very clear from the get, all of that. I'm not living in somebody's phone. I'm not, hey, come over for Netflix and chill, or like popping in and out of my life. None of that. I used to do all that, used to entertain all those guys that were never going to commit to me. But now the men that I date, it's more like, I know that they're serious and, we're having these conversations that are healthy and nothing even to do with hooking up. Like, we don't even need to talk about that, but it's just, we're really into each other. And I think with dating men that I just know are on that more serious level, it comes a point where if I'm attracted to them and we're having good company, we're spending a lot of time together, I don't mind. It's not that I don't mind. I don't even like to use that word because it feels like I'm just like doing it for them. I'm down and I want to sleep with them. And again, that's going to take your past experience to know exactly when you're going to be ready. And some people don't want to do that at all because they have certain beliefs about what that means if you do that too soon, or if you when I say too soon, some people think like, no, like we should be married, or I should have a ring, or I should have whatever. Your standards are your standards. I can't even tell you that, but for me, I think that I definitely wait. I don't tell myself like there's a certain amount of weeks that I have to wait or anything. I just think if I know that the guy is serious, and again, maybe you'll never know. This is not to say that just because he's serious, he's gonna marry you. I don't look at it like that. But also, if I trust that this guy is a very, like, this man is a good man, he's not like out here sleeping around and being weird and gross, and he's very serious and he takes care of himself and he's on a path of growth, all that kind of stuff, like things that I'm looking for in a man. And if I'm attracted to him and I'm feeling the vibe and I want to, then that's when I know that I'm ready. But I think you should really tap into yourself and what you're feeling when you are around a man, or when you're even thinking. You don't even have to be around them, but when you're just thinking about doing something for the first time or first time with them, ask yourself, are you ready? If you're hesitant, if you don't know yet, if you're not fully like, I don't want to, I don't know, then you're not ready. And that's okay. Honestly. There's so many times where, again, it was that like shock factor of like, oh, okay, I didn't really expect it to be tonight, but I guess we'll go here. Like, no, don't do that. Like, you should honestly know when you're getting into it, like when you're, things are getting hot and heavy, that it's like, this is the time, like we're doing it. Like, I was expecting it. I'm down for it. Like, we're both vibing. Like, again, it's that silent agreement of we know it is. And it's like that energetic feeling of like that man knows that you're ready as well and that you're welcoming it. And sometimes men are so disconnected from you that they don't even know, they don't even care. They just go for it. And it's like when you're with a man who just goes for it, when you feel like your feelings weren't even taken consideration, I don't think that it's time. It's not right. And I've gone on dates and started seeing somebody where I like them, and maybe we were at their place and hot and heavy, whatever, but they went for it, and I felt that I didn't feel really taken consideration, and I'm like kind of questioning, why do you just assume that I'm ready to do this right now when I'm definitely not? And then I won't do it. Like, it's not happening. And I honestly think that now when I let it happen, it's because I'm ready. So it's a hard one, and I do think over time you build that trust muscle, but always just come back to yourself. If you don't feel ready, don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it just because you think that person really wants it, and like, oh, I want to give him what he wants, or I want to give them what they want, and yeah, that's great and cool, but what about you? And how are you going to feel knowing that you weren't ready after you did it? Like, not great. And again, this is not to regret things, right? Because not to say, every time I talk about this, I'm always like, I don't want people to think that I used to hook up with a bunch of people. I was not. I was actually so freaking shy when it came to talking to guys. When I was in high school, like, I didn't talk to any guys, like, mainly because I was just not confident within myself. But all my friends were hooking up with guys and had boyfriends, and when everyone started like sleeping with each other, blah blah blah, I was not in that scene. Like, I was very much so I remember one time, oh my gosh, my mom, I remember she told me at one point she thought that I was a lesbian because I wasn't talking about guys. And I wasn't like that boy crazy girl, but I guess she just had that thought, but she didn't really think anything of it. My mom was very open and honest and like accepting, and wouldn't judge me anyways, even if I did. Not like she should, but just any of that. So I feel like I'm not surprised that I didn't hear her talk to me about that, but I could see how she maybe thought about that. No other thing other than just I didn't really talk to boys. And another thing is, when my dad was alive, he was very, very strict. So for me to even think about having a boyfriend or bringing a guy home or just being boy crazy like some girls can be, which is totally fine if you are, like, whatever. It was a no. Like, it was an absolute no. But I do remember I had my first boyfriend. Oh my gosh. Okay, we need to get into this real quick. I had my first boyfriend when I was I don't even know. I think we were in I want to say grade 6, maybe. So actually, no, hold on. He was in my kindergarten class at a different school, okay? But I don't think that we dated, or we definitely didn't kiss. I didn't have my first kiss in kindergarten, definitely not. But I don't even know. I think I just had a crush on him and he probably had a crush on me. I don't really know, in kindergarten. And then fast forward, I don't know, however many years, I go to a new school and he's there. And I knew him from my other school, but I was such a shy kid. I still was shy at this point. And so I remember him starting to show interest in like how friends talk and whatever. And I remember him being my first kiss, and I just will never forget it. It was so cute. And it's funny though, because he was also interested in my best friends, and he would go back and forth from dating me to my best friend. And I remember I felt so heartbroken every single time he would decide to not like me that week and start talking to my best friend. Now, looking back, that's probably not a healthy friendship to have, but I mean, we were so young, like what? And yeah, so I just remember back in the day when you would just feel so excited for like a crush and whatever. But I had that relationship, and I dated a few guys in my school, but this was like young. This was actually before I grew into like my puberty years, and then really, got self-conscious and self-image issues in high school and whatever. I feel like when I was a child, it was easier to, have a little boyfriends and here and there. But other than that, I was still very shy though. But then high school hit and I was like, no, not happening. So anyways, very interesting. We love that. All right, somebody said interracial dating. They just said interracial dating. So I don't really know exactly what you want me to speak on, but I guess just my thoughts. It's actually always, has it been I guess it's been my case because I've always dated somebody that wasn't the same race as me. And also my parents were interracial, like dating. So obviously, that's how I'm mixed. If you guys don't know, I'm half black, half white. I'm only saying that because maybe I was thinking about this today. There's probably some people who listen to podcasts that maybe have never seen what I look like other than like that one photo on my podcast. But anyways, yes, I'm half black, half white. I did a DNA test, and I am a freaking mix of a lot of things, okay? My dad was Jamaican, but Jamaican is not like, when you get your DNA test, it doesn't say that you're like Jamaican. Well, actually, I think something on there said that. But my roots go back to Africa, okay? And a lot of it's Nigerian, actually. And something else I forget. There's a few other things. And then on my mom's side, lots of Scottish, Irish, German, French, a little bit of Spanish and Portuguese as well. There's a lot. We have a lot. Anyways, I'm mixed, okay? So obviously I have no beef with interracial dating. I think you need to just date whoever you want to date. I think that people who have this hyper focus on, I don't know, I just think just date whoever you want to date, okay? And let yourself live. And let's not have these labels on. I don't know. I'm done with labels. I'm really done in general. I don't even want to go too deep into this because I'm not trying to, not like anyone could cancel me really, because I just think that we're human beings and it is what it is. And I back my opinions, but I just feel like, I don't know. Anyways, we're not going there. Anyways, next. Someone wanted me to talk about social media and relationships. A guy who follows a ton of models but wants to commit. Listen, I don't want to put any limiting beliefs on the situation of if he dates a lot of, if he follows a lot of Instagram models, then he's toxic, whatever. I mean, I would say that would pose a little bit of a red flag in a way of just being like, my question is why? My question is, why are you following these women that probably don't follow you? This is honestly, it's like you just don't know them. They don't know you. And then we know that your feed is going to be filled with them. And I just don't love the idea of knowing that I'm dating a man who is constantly bombarding his mind with Instagram models, because for one, it's just like in general, it's just not healthy for anyone, even women, for us to constantly just watch that. And if that's your feed, then I just wonder like what's going on in your mind. Of course, it's going to make me feel some sort of way, because especially if they have a certain type on there. And if I'm not looking that type, it's like, okay, so what do you want? And it's hard for me to not say that doesn't matter. I think that a lot of things don't matter, but I don't know if he's following so many Instagram girls and models and stuff, and liking and just obsessed with that type of stuff. I don't think it's healthy. Like in general, I just don't think it's healthy. So, but if he says he wants to commit, like I'm not saying like don't date the guy, but I don't know. I just think that that would be a reflection of what he's into. And it's like saying the same thing of, your friends are really a reflection of you, and your life is really a reflection kind of what you think and what you believe and what you do on a day-to-day. It's the same way your home is. If your home is completely messy and trashy and gross, and you're not taking care of your house or your home or your body, anything like that, I feel like sometimes it really is just that reflection of what's going inside. So I don't know, if you don't like what you see on the outside, I don't know if you're really going to like what you see on the inside. So I don't know. I wouldn't hyper focus on it though. I definitely wouldn't hyper focus on it. I would focus on getting to know him. If he says he wants to commit, take it at that. I also wouldn't start like throwing it in shady ways, being like, oh, but you follow like these girls, or who's this girl, or who's that. Don't be petty. If you want to have a conversation, an adult conversation about this, and that is actually a concern of yours, have the conversation. I had a conversation one time with one of my exes. You know what? I can say this. I don't think he listens to my stuff, but if he does, like, whatever. I remember I saw on his TikTok, he was following, those just girls who like dance and show their bellies, and just very much so like they're beautiful, but it's just a little bit odd to see a man who only follows like all those girls. And I had mentioned that to him. I was like, I don't really love that. Like, it just seems a little bit odd to me, especially because of who he was. Like, it actually didn't even make sense to me. I was like very surprised that he was following these type of girls. And he was real with me. He was so real with me. He was like, honestly, I got out of a breakup, and I was going through a really rough time through COVID, and I had nothing to do, and I felt like crap about myself. So I think he said that. I'm sorry. Listen, if he's listening, I'm so sorry. I don't mean to say that you like felt like crap about yourself, but whatever. And he was like, I just that made me feel good. And I could see, and I'm not saying that's a good thing, right? And he ended up deleting everything. Like, he was like, I don't even like this. This is not actually a good reflection of who I am as a person. And I don't like that. So just know that too. Like, people do make mistakes, and maybe they are going through a bad time. And listen, I'm not a man, and I'm only speaking from my experience and what I've seen, what I've heard from men. So you can take it or you can leave it. But I do find that some men, when they're feeling very low about themselves, and I'm not even putting this on my ex, it's just like some men in general, when they're feeling very low and they feel like they can't necessarily get the girl that they want, they will sometimes go on Instagram and kind of get that dopamine kick and help themselves feel like something. I don't know. It's not the best, like I said, and that's more so a reflection of maybe what's going inside, but I don't know. That's my 2 cents on that one. All right. Somebody said, my dad left me, and sometimes I miss him, but I know he didn't care about me. How do I stop missing him? Okay. So this is obviously a very deep question, but this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to give you my quick story and like how I look at my father. So if you guys don't know, I mean, you've probably heard a million times, because he is a big part of who I am today. He was very emotionally neglectful. He was very strict. He just wasn't emotionally available. I know even before he passed away, he would tell my mom, like, I don't know why I'm so hard on her. I kind of don't know how to be a father. He just wasn't the best father. He did what he could though. And that's how I look at it. Like, I've had to grieve that loss in many ways of him actually not being here anymore. He passed away when I was 16. And, I had to grieve a lot of things, and it took me a while, and there's a lot of anger that came from that, and a lot of sadness for my inner child that didn't get the father that she really deserved, and, all of that kind of stuff. And I look back and I think I can look at him in a mature way now, though. I'm not saying that you can do this yet. That's why I'm giving you my perspective. I've gotten to a point for a long time. Honestly, there's always a part of me that knew that he just like wasn't capable of being that father, and I could just see it in him. But I look back and I see how hurt he was, and how hurt he was from his own upbringing, and how strict of a household he came from. He was born in Jamaica, had to move here when he was like 14, and my grandma, his mother was so strict on him, and he didn't have the best father figure around, and he didn't have a lot of resources, and he did what he could, and he there were so many things that he did that were amazing, and he was an athlete, and he did what he could, and then there's so many things that were just kind of out of his control, and it is what it is. So all of his life factors made it so he wasn't the best father to me, and that's no excuse. It's no excuse. People struggle with this when they want to let go or move on or forgive in a way. Forgiveness is not about excusing what happened. It's honestly for yourself to realize, what? I see things for what they are, and I'm going to release this anger, this sadness, this longing for something that I just never got. And this doesn't even mean you need to completely let go of it, because there's just going to be times, like I'm sure some of you guys know, if you ever lost a parent or anything, it's not just like this linear thing where you could just, okay, I'm going to forgive and forget and move on, and then that's that. No. Like that's just not how life works, and that's totally fine. But I look at it as that's just what it was for him, and how he grew up, and he didn't have a lot of tools on how to even be a proper father. He was young, he had many kids, and he did what he could. But even with all the things that I didn't get, and all the ways that I look back and I'm like, wow, you should have been a better father, and you shouldn't have done this or that, I still love him. I still miss him. I wish so bad that he was here, because I feel like we would have such a dope relationship now that we're adults. Well, I'm an adult, and he would have still been an adult. Because I do also see how our relationship, he started becoming like a lot nicer to me before he passed away. I think that was just because I grew up, and I was always such a good kid. I was always the best. I was such a good kid, and he knew that. And he started to like pull back on how hard he was being on me. And I could see that he saw that in me. And our relationship started getting a little bit more open and better in a little bit of a way before he passed away. And I just think that, if things were different, if his circumstances different, we would have been, probably in a better situation, and we probably would have had a better relationship. And I don't strip that part of me that does miss him, because of course you're going to have an inner child part of you that misses her dad, or anyone, even if a man is listening to this, whatever. There's always going to be that part of you, and that's okay. You don't have to stop missing somebody just because they acted in a certain way. This is not to mean that you'd want to expose yourself to re-hurting yourself by thinking about that thing that they did, or, trying to go back to somebody who's not good for you. Like, obviously, like, we don't want to do that. But for me personally, I don't look at what he did and then tell myself that you must hate him, because that's just, I don't think that that's right. Because even if there was excuses, even if there wasn't, there's that inner child part of me that is allowed to miss her father. And it's honestly not up to me to tell you and convince you that, he really wanted to care, but he didn't. Whatever it is, it's not going to be up to me. But I would just say my advice to you is that you don't have to stop missing him. You can let go, and you can forgive, and you can kind of move on and work on that in a way of not going the complete opposite and hating that person as well. Like, you can actually have space and hold space for both. One thing that I'll say is, I would suggest you go check out my podcast episode that I did. It's my number one it's the first podcast episode that I ever made about forgiving and letting go. And you'll really understand what I mean by forgiveness is really, it's not about them, it's about you. And I think that will really help you. Okay, next question. How to heal a relationship with parents that are so different from you. And let me just bring it back to my own story once again. So after my dad passed away when I was 16, I came to the realization or found out that my mother was struggling with addictions. And she's so much better now, thank God. But from 16 until, I would want to say, I really got over a lot of this and worked through it and healed through it. And I had to do, it was a long process. Maybe when I was like 24, 25, I really came to, I think I went through the process of grieving that loss of that period of time with her, getting over the anger, also getting myself kind of back up from the socioeconomic situation that came from having a parent who fell to that kind of stuff, along with not having a father. So it was a huge chunk of who I am again, right? And people always ask me like, what got you into this and blah, blah, blah. It's like, there's so many things that got me interested in talking about certain things on my channel. But the main few things were my father, my mom, my health issues that brought me here. So I realized over the years that it is actually really not your job to heal other people's traumas. It's not your job to especially fix your parents. And I think when it comes to you wanting to heal your relationship with your parents, you just have to know that it's actually not your responsibility. And what I've learned over the years is sometimes you have to choose love over choosing being right. And what I mean is this. Sometimes there's people who have families or parents, whatever, that they don't understand them, or they're toxic, or they're, my level of family situation, where they can kind of learn that, you know what, I'm not going to be able to change them. And that took a long time for me to realize that I couldn't change my mother. But I realized that I still wanted my mom. There were so many parts of her that were good, especially when she was like sober and everything was good. Like, she still is such a big part of my life. Actually, whatever. Another story for another day. But I realized I'd rather choose love than to choose to being right and constantly arguing and telling her how hurt I was and just wanting her to change and telling her how she should change and things like that. And that takes a while again. And mainly you want to do that because you love them and you want your parent, or you want everything to be good and happy and whatever. But it comes to a point where you just sometimes you have to choose, and sometimes you can't really choose love. Let's say, yes, you're like loving them, but you have to actually remove yourself. Like, that might look like not having a relationship with these people. And again, this is going to be, it totally depends. It depends on your age. It depends on if you can remove yourself or not. It depends on so many things go into this, the level of what it is, the conflict that's even happening. But for me, I was like, you know what? I would rather just come to terms for what it is and heal parts of me that have been wounded from this and work on myself and not be so hyper focused on changing this person and making them see how they're hurting me and doing everything as much as I want to. And I did that for years. I wanted her to see so badly how much she was hurting me. And honestly, she did. She's owned everything. And I've had conversations with her also about talking about this on my podcast, by the way. And she's totally fine with it because she's like, that's part of your story. And she's really great. But I really think it's actually just a journey of figuring out what you can and what you can't handle, what you will and what you will not put up with. And sometimes that will look like, again, completely removing yourself, not having conversations with them, or, only spending X amount of time with them. And obviously learning to not try and pose your beliefs or what you think that they should do on them. Or maybe you can, and you can just be okay with the fact that they don't think the same way that you do, or they don't live their life the same way that you do. And I've seen people do both. I've seen people who can be still very close with their parents or their family or whatever, just knowing that, you know what, that's just how they are. And it's not even from a place of like biting my tongue and, biting the bullet. It's just they fully accept that, like that's just how they are and whatever. But then there's going to be times where maybe you can't. And there was definitely times where I had to not choose love and just bite the bullet per se and remove myself from my mother when she was really in her addictions, because it was actually hurting me. It was traumatizing me. I've been traumatized in that way. So it's going to really depend. And again, it's this journey. So maybe there's going to be a period of your life where you're able to choose that love and you'll be able to like kind of accept them and just be okay and like, learn how to connect on different ways, learn how to have different conversations than the ones that you're constantly fighting about, and just like know that when you go and see them or when you talk to them, I'm not going to even bring up this. I'm only going to talk about this, because I know if we talk about this over here, there's going to be an argument, there's going to be this, that, and there's going to be nothing. Like maybe we just avoid those conversations, and maybe you can be okay with that. But maybe you're at a point, and maybe when you're like a little bit older, you realize, you know what, I can't be around you in general, or I can't have these conversations with you in general, because these are the conversations that I really are important to me and that I want to have, or things that I want to do. And no matter what, I just can't do that biting the bullet thing. So I think it depends on the phases, the stages that you're in your life, but also them. Because remind yourself, like, people do change, but they change on their own timeline. And for my mom, like, it got to a point where I had to remove myself because she wasn't changing on my timeline. But now I'm at a point where she's doing so much better. Like, she's so much better that I can have her in my life and it's totally fine. Someone also asked, energy vampires in your family. Again, this is just going to depend on your age and what you can and what you can't do. But I would just say try to remove yourself as much as you can from situations that you just know aren't going to go anywhere but toxic. Like, know the conversations that you kind of can have with a certain person and what you can't. And I know it sucks, right? Because you're going to have a lot of anger and sadness and, resentment for being like, oh, I should be able to talk about this, or they should listen to me and they should take my feelings in consideration. And yeah, they should. They really should. But the truth is, like, some people can't and they won't and they're not ready to. And you're hurting yourself by, constantly just being so not obsessed, but stressed out about them and what they're doing. And I think that just for your mental health and your peace, choose yourself as much as you can. Now, obviously, you might have to have people in your life to help you be able to assert some boundaries, or, depending on the situation. Therapy, I think no matter what, therapy is going to have to be a big one if you do struggle with friends, families, relationships where it has been this, do I choose love or do I choose, being right in a way? But it's difficult. I've been through it. And just know that nothing is black and white, especially when it comes to families. I feel like with relationships and friendships, sometimes when we know it's toxic and it's whatever, we can just cut it off and just go away. But when it's family, there's so many layers to it, because I am somebody who, as much as I really wanted to be able to just cut off my mom, I couldn't, because I literally had a biological bond with that lady. She's my mother. And it's hard to just turn that off, even when that person is in front of you hurting you, especially when you don't necessarily have that wisdom yet, or that knowledge of really being able to look at it for what it is and be like, okay, they're not really hurting me. They're actually hurting themselves. It's very hard for you to convince yourself in a moment of time when your parents are actually hurting you to realize that they're actually hurting themselves and they're not actually doing it intentionally to you. It always feels and looks like it's intentional. And it takes a long time for you to get over that, heal that, and also realize, like, it never was about me. It never was about me. Even if they don't say it, even if they get to the end of their life and they don't say, it was never you, it was always me, and, I'm the one that messed up, whatever. That's how I look at it, as it's always them. If somebody's hurting you, they're really internally hurting themselves. And Although my father never truly said that to me, I know that to be true, that he was never intentionally hurting me. He never hated me. He never wanted me to suffer or, be scared or be timid. It wasn't that. He was hurting so insanely deeply that he couldn't even access those emotions. He couldn't even heal those wounds that he had, that it ended up creating generational issues, trauma, whatever you want to call it. All right, let's talk about friends. How to handle a friend who is always asking for advice while actively self-sabotaging herself. Oh my gosh. Like the way that I have a perfect example, I'm not going to go into too much detail, but oh my gosh, I have been the friend. First of all, I'm the friend that gives the advice to all the friends. And there's been times, not anymore really, but I used to have many friends in the past where I'd be the advice friend, but it was to the wrong friends. These friends weren't taking the advice. I also didn't have boundaries. These were just not the friends that even needed the advice because they were not going to take it. They weren't ready to take it. They didn't want to actually take it. So I think this is something you really need to understand. There's going to be people who say they're ready for the truth and advice, but they're not. And if you find that these people are going back to their old toxic ways and they're self-sabotaging and they can't see themselves fully for who they are and what they're doing and to really own what they're doing, then they are not the friend that you should be giving all of your attention, all your energy, and all of your advice to, because it's going to drain you. Now, on the flip side, you need to learn how to have boundaries because it's not just them. Why is it that you are letting somebody suck all of your energy out? Where's the boundaries? When you realize constantly your friend is coming to you week after week, crying about the same guy, and you're continuing to give them the same advice, what aren't you seeing? What aren't you saying? Because realistically, we all know insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. So if you find that somebody's doing the same thing over and over, why are you continuing to give them your energy and your advice? Now, listen, obviously it's because it's your friend and you love them and whatever, but I'm going to say this here and it's going to be a lot. I do think that it's some sort of codependent relationship when it comes to a friend who is the advice giver, the therapist, and the friend who is constantly coming to that advice giver for the same advice over and over and over again. I swear it is a codependent relationship. So what I've learned over the years is, for one, to realize that this person's not probably going to change. Not to say like you can't have faith in this person and you can't love them, like whatever. But if you see the same thing over and over, it's just like, again, it comes back to things that I have learned from my parents, especially my mom. Doesn't matter, like no matter what I say to you, if you have parts of you, like demons within you that are driving you to do certain self-sabotaging behaviors, my advice is not going to change you. Advice is not going to change your actions when you're that deep into something. And with that, stop giving that person so much of your time. So many extra tips, so many rants, so much this, that. Like, it's like, sometimes I used to just say too much and I didn't need to. Like, they didn't even need to hear it. It's like, say the same few lines that you always tell them when they do the same thing over and over again and be done with it. Now, listen, I'm going to be careful with what I say there, because then it's like, then why are you friends with this person? Like, that's what I wish that I really kind of got good at in the past when I was friends with people who weren't really taking my advice. It's like, what aren't you seeing? This person is probably not even a good person for you to have in your life. They're constantly self-sabotaging. They're constantly being so unaware of who they truly are. Again, it's less about, they're not taking my advice. No, it's not even about that. It's like, usually I find if I'm giving a friend a lot of advice, lots of advice, they're probably just not on the same level, not thinking the exact same way. Like, they're not necessarily as wise or mature as me. And that's okay, because obviously you're going to be a good friend and give friends advice and whatever, and they can give it back. But if you are giving somebody constant advice and you're somebody who doesn't need advice, especially from them, like you wouldn't really take the advice from them because they're just not on your level in the nicest way, then you really want to question like why you guys are even friends. Now, I know it could be like a family friend or just like an old time friend and this, that, but then it's like you need to have some boundaries here. And one thing that I really wish that I did was communicate with some of those friends back in the day and be like, listen, I feel like I've been giving you so much advice of the same thing over and over again, and I just see that you're doing the same things over and over again, and not only am I kind of worried because you're just doing the same things over and over, but it doesn't seem like you're taking my advice, and I don't know if it's helpful for you or why, but I'm wondering if we can figure that out. And if not, then I just feel like it's kind of draining for me to say the same thing over and over. And I don't want you to feel like I'm pulling away or that I don't like you or I don't love you. But it's, to me, I just don't see why we keep going in circles and circles. Like it's not really productive at this point. Next question. Friendship breakups. Should you let them back into your life or no? I think if they have changed, like you have to think about why you guys broke up in the first place. If they are not living the same life or they've changed in some way and they're also acknowledging it and they're actually having a conversation with you as to, okay, this is why we broke up. I see the red flags in me. I see the red flags in you. I see how we were maybe codependent. I see how we were, in which ways. And this is how I've changed, and they can show you and you can show them as well. Then I say that maybe, yeah, you could. But I feel like sometimes, and I've had this happen before, where my friends will come back into my life or I'll come back into them because, you miss them. You miss that, the normalcy of the just them knowing you and you knowing them and whatever. But you also, sometimes it's like you're craving that toxic part without even really realizing it. It doesn't have to be super toxic. It's just like there's that something that you guys had, that it's honestly that codependent thing that you had, and you're actually craving for that back because it feels very safe, but obviously it's not. And I think that if this friend but let's say this friend just comes back and be like, oh my God, I miss you so much. Like you saw each other the first time in a while and, I missed you. And oh my gosh, remember when we used to do this and that and whatever. And like nostalgia and all these things. And then you guys kind of move right back to where you were, then probably not, because it's going to be the same thing. Like, what have we done that's been different than who we were in the past? And how are we committed to not letting our friendship go in that direction again? Because if not, then that's just, you're going to be right back to where you were. Guys, I think this episode is going to be longer than all the other ones, which is insane to me. Okay. How to build a healthy relationship with food / I struggle with binging. Okay, for one, diets don't work. We just all need to come to that collective decision that diets don't work. There's also a deeper reason as to why you're in this binge cycle. There always is, and it usually has to do with your emotions and your mental health in general. Like it's not normal to be binging and not having a healthy relationship with food. And it's coming from experience. I had struggled with binge eating for a very long time. I have a video on how to heal your relationship how I healed my relationship with food and got my dream body or something of the sort. I'll have it linked in the description / show notes. But also my book is going to talk about that. My book is not going to be about healthy relationship with food, but one of the first starting factors of this whole glow up journey that I went on, and this self-development journey back when I was 16, when my dad passed away, it's all started with a very unhealthy relationship with food and body image. And I spiraled out of control from then, and it took me many years to get through that. But through that process, which I'm going to be taking you guys through in my book, I realized how it was so much deeper than I thought. And it's really that mental health component. So I'm not going to get too much into it, but there's definitely a part of you that is convinced that eating in this way or binging or, running to something that soothes you in the moment is keeping you safe. But we look at it, any self-sabotaging behavior, we think about it as bad and our body's turning against us and I don't know why I'm doing this and I can't control myself. But it's actually a part of you that's most likely stuck in some shape or form in childhood where it believes it's protecting you from something. So go watch that video, and my book will definitely address that soon. Someone asked proper weight loss mindset. So kind of talking about what I just did, address your mental health. I feel like I left the health and wellness industry for many reasons, but one of them being what I was seeing from myself and from everyone else was there's a reason why you continue to fall off diets. There's a reason why you can't be consistent. There's a reason why you really, really struggle with your health. And yes, for sure, understanding physical movement and eating properly. Yes, 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 yes. So important. Yes, yes, yes. But oh my gosh, the emphasis that we have on that versus mental health is insane. There's a reason why you got to the way that you got. And that's what I would say in terms of having a proper mindset when it comes to, weight loss or whatever, is to really get deep down to the why of why you are where you're at right now in terms of your health. And this is not to say you have to not, go to the gym or work out or whatever. Yes, do that. But just know diets don't work. Make sure that what you're doing is sustainable, because if not, then you're going to fall off or you're going to get into this binge eating cycle, which I did for the longest time. But seriously address your mental health in a way of wondering and looking at why I even got to this place in the first place. Like, what are emotions that maybe I'm suppressing, or things I'm running away from, or stress that is happening in my life. There's so many factors on a psychosocial level. There's things that are impacting your health, and we don't look at it like that. We look at it as, oh my gosh, like, let me just diet, and like, what's the lowest calorie thing that I could eat? And it's not it. So I, again, would go watch that video that I made. Also, I do have a podcast episode. I don't remember what it's called, but I did talk about the reason why. I don't even know what it is, but it has something to do. I talk actually probably more about that, about how to have like a proper weight loss mindset in the podcast episode. So I will find it and put it in the show notes, but I talk about biopsychosocial factors that go into, unhealthy living. Next one, how you maintained a healthy lifestyle while working as a waitress, especially the evening shifts. Yeah, definitely difficult because I was busting my ass. But here's a few tips. Now, I don't know if they mean eating or just mental health things, but I'll give both. If you're working a long shift, just make sure you fuel yourself. Like, you have to, because you don't know when you're going to be eating, and you need to take care of your health. Like, I remember there'd be days where let's say I would open the restaurant. So it'd be like 10:30 I'd have to get there at, and then I wouldn't be home till like 8 o'clock. But in the mornings, I was like on my drinking coffee for breakfast grind, and then I would just like eat later. Like, no, I had to really realize like I need to eat a proper full meal before I go into work. And also, I would take unnecessary things off of my plate depending on how long I was working. If I had a long shift, I wouldn't pack so many things in my morning or like make a bunch of plans at night, because my energy matters, and you're putting so much energy when it comes to being a waitress that you kind of need to work smart, not hard. Don't be putting all of your tasks and your errands and your plans on a day that you're going to have a busy shift. Another thing is, and this might be, I put this on here and it might be whatever. I said be high maintenance. I was so high maintenance at work, but it got me the respect that I deserved. And listen, everyone deserves respect, okay? And you don't need to be high maintenance to get respect, obviously, but it definitely worked for me, and it has worked for my friend as well. And what I mean by this is, when you're at work, you are allowed to have a break or stop for a moment, go into the back, eat something quickly, have a drink, whatever. We think that we're not allowed. No, my manager doesn't. I work an 8-hour shift on my feet all 8 hours and I can't stop and blah, 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 blah. Okay, take it up with HR, because they actually can't force you to work for 8 hours straight without you taking a quick second to go to the back, have some water, reset yourself, and breathe. Like you actually can't. But people, I've seen this I've worked in the restaurant industry for years and years and years, and I've seen managers completely push over so many servers. I've seen it time and time again in every single job that I've worked, and I've seen the treatment that they give me versus another person, and it's actually sad. And I've always tried to instill a lot of confidence as much as I can into my coworkers. Not saying like I'm the girl who like is the trainer of a confidence. It's just like to realize that people really don't care about you too much unless you train them to care about you. And that means, hi, I need to go to the back and take a break. And who can cover my table for 15 minutes because I need to do this. And if no other server wants to do it, or if they can't, then okay, the manager, somebody needs to do it because I need to go in the back and take a drink. And if that means you need to say like, I have some sort of condition that I need to, then do it. I don't even care, because your mental health, your physical health matters. And again, I have seen the treatment that I have gotten in every single job compared to other people. And that was because I assumed myself to have confidence and respect in myself. And I said what I needed to say. I wasn't afraid to stand up to my managers in the nicest way, but I wasn't afraid to stand up to my managers when they would want to cut me, but keep me on standing there for hours and hours. I would say, this doesn't make sense to me, and I'm going to go home in the nicest way, but I'm going to go home. I've had many times where I've had to say that. And there's just something about so many people who don't have boundaries and they're too scared to say what they really feel, especially in the workplace. And I get it, right? Like I'm just thinking about the hospitality industry, but in general, I get it. I understand that you're scared to lose your job and you don't want to be mean. There's a way of going about communicating that's not like being super rude, but I think you just need to stand up for yourself, and that's really it. Also, another thing when it comes to like healthy lifestyle, make sure you bring a lot of snacks that you can eat like on the go. I would sometimes want to be on my healthy grind and bring a salad, but I was like very busy and I just didn't have enough time to eat my food, and then I would be rushing. I hate rushing when I'm eating, especially at work. Like I made sure to really slow down my eating. So I would make sure to bring food. So let's say lunch, if I was having a break, even on lunch sometimes, if I knew it was going to be a busy day, I wouldn't bring salad. I would bring maybe like a salmon with some rice and a little bit of avocado, something that would be easier and quicker to eat. I wouldn't rush myself, but quicker to eat versus a salad. A salad takes a long time for you to chew, honestly. Or bringing nuts and seeds or a little bit of yogurt, a little yogurt parfait, something quick, something easy to bring, so that even if you don't actually have a break and it's really busy, and you can just go in the back and quickly like take a bite and like it's totally fine. And bring freaking water because you need it. Okay, 2 more questions. Oh my gosh. Life as an influencer. Life as an influencer is great because I get to live life for me. Now, I want to say that I think that when people ask this question, it's like, oh my gosh, like you probably like, it's almost like you kind of made it and you get to live life for yourself, blah, blah, blah. But living life as an influencer doesn't mean that I'm done. Like, I feel like that's how I used to look at it too when I would watch influencers doing what I wanted to do, or I thought that I wanted to do, but no longer want to do. Whatever it was, I just thought, wow, like they've made it and they get to live however they want and they have all this time and they can create and do whatever. That is definitely true. But sorry guys, I had to move because I've been recording for way too long and my camera heated up. That's when you know you need to stop talking. But like I was saying, I have so many more things that I want to accomplish. It's just I have created a life where now I can do more things. I can accomplish more things and bring myself in that direction. So as an influencer, it's great because I have more time to do what I really want, and lots of learning, lots of growing, writing a book, building out my platforms, connecting with people, actually going out and living my life a lot more than I was. Making more money, amazing things, but I look at it as just another part of my up level in my life. I have now up leveled in a career path that I actually want to be in, and, opened more doors and created more opportunities for myself to continue to grow. I'm a lifelong learner. I will constantly be growing and evolving and developing. There's so many other things that I want to accomplish, like I already said, but also just even outside of career and being an influencer and all this kind of stuff. Like, I want a family and I want so many other things that don't involve being an influencer. So yeah, that's just my spiel. Okay, last thing. I'm not going to get too much into it, but someone asked my story and how I got into wellness and feminine energy and like just the content that I'm creating now. I've kind of already said it multiple times here. One, my book is definitely going to explain that journey, and it's coming together, guys. It's really coming together. So yeah, I would say the main things that got me to where I'm at right now, talking about what I'm talking about, my father, my mother, my unhealthy relationship with food, and my chronic illness that I dealt with, that really drove me to go. Honestly, it was like my dark night of my soul, honestly. And coming out of all of that and doing so much healing and learning, educating myself so heavily, navigating life through everything that was going on at that time. Practices such as therapy, somatic work, inner child healing, shadow work, healing my body on a holistic level, on a physical level, learning how to have a healthy body image and relationship towards myself, and, having relationships with other people as well in a healthy way versus how I grew up having them. All of that gave me the knowledge, the wisdom, the everything that I'm able to now share with you guys. A lot of you guys ask me, what courses did you take, or what book, or what got you into it? And it was so many things. It was education, sure, but it was reading books, yeah, sure, but it was my life experience, honestly. And I think that not everyone needs to do this, but if you're especially thinking about getting into this space of, wanting to have a podcast or be a content creator and talk about healing and all this kind of like self-development stuff, you don't need to have, first of all, you're not going to have the exact same life circumstance as me, nor am I saying you need it, but I think you should, whatever you're doing, if you're going to help people, help them through something that you've been through. And that's what I try and do. And not saying that every single thing that you guys ask me or I give advice on, I've actually been through, but I've had so much wisdom and I've lived through so many things, and I'm still 27. So saying that I lived through so many things, like there's so many more things to come, but I have really been able to give as good advice as I can and really see things from a bigger point of view now that I'm out of a lot of that stuff. There was times where I've always been somebody who's giving good advice, always been that wise friend, always been that mature person. A lot of that has to do with me being a good kid, and, my parents did raise me a certain way, especially my father, but also my mom as well. And there's so many things that go into why I am the way that I am, not just the mere fact that I've gone through life experience, but, in my personality trait and just my interest and love for understanding psychology in general, because that's really kind of like what this all encompasses. But oh my gosh, I don't even know where I was going there because I feel so tired. Anyways, I think whatever you want to do in your life, it's good to see what you've gone through and use that wisdom as a part of helping others, if that's what you're trying to do, like kind of like what I'm doing. And what I was going to say, I think, is there was times when I was younger and I kind of wanted to do the same type of content, and I was making videos for a little bit. It was a very short time, like when I was really going through it in 2017. I was really into self-development, all this kind of stuff, but I was still very much so going through so much behind the scene. I was still struggling with my relationship with food, my chronic illness, my health. My mom was in the midst of her downfall. I was literally living in a very unsafe, unhealthy, relationship environment. And I really wanted to, be that person that I am right now. I really wanted that. And I tried until it was too much, because I honestly needed to do a lot more healing. And I say that in a light way because you don't have to be healed to talk about certain things, but I just think no matter what you're talking about, just talk from your perspective, and you don't need to be someone that you're not yet. I feel like a lot of us think that we need to be talking about certain topics that maybe we haven't even fully healed yet. And I come at it from a point, and I've learned this over time, that it's not that I don't have to not talk about something that I want to talk about, but I have to just be real and be like, I'm talking about, let's say I wanted to talk about healing your relationship with food. If I was still struggling with healing my relationship with food, I could still talk about it online, but it's going to be from a place of, this is what I'm currently still struggling with. I'm a real person, and this is what's currently been helping me. I'm on this journey as well. I haven't gotten it all figured out. Like, that's kind of how I go about things if there's still something that I'm really struggling with. But when it comes to healing my relationship with food, it's definitely way past that now. But I don't know. I think that takes a lot of pressure as well off when you are trying to do something online and, being some sort of influence, because you probably are. You probably actually could be amazing influencer, or not like somebody was just asking me how to be an influencer, but if you want to be a content creator, you want to be an influencer, you want to help other people, you don't need to be like this perfect thing. It doesn't even exist anyways, but it's just like in which way are you putting yourself on the internet as this perfect person that has it all figured out? You don't need to. You don't need to. And that's what helped me get out of my own way and started talking about the things that I did. I, today, right now, can say that I still struggle with my mental health sometimes. I struggle with so many things that I'm so much more equipped and able to really turn around, but I wasn't able to. And I got stuck a lot in cycles back in the day that it was really hard for me to show up as if somebody who kind of has it together, because it wasn't really the full story. And now I actually don't even put that pressure on myself to show up perfectly, but however I show up is how I actually am. And I think that you just got to let yourself not be perfect. You don't need to be perfect about things. So anyways, that was a rant. This was a long episode. Oh my gosh. I need to take a break and hopefully try and film one more thing. We'll see. But I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. I have a good idea for next week's episode. So don't forget to be following me on Instagram. Anything that I talked about in this episode, I will have linked below. Thank you so much as well for hitting 3,000 subscribers on the podcast channel. We are only going up from here. And yeah, I'll talk to you guys in the next one. Bye.